We have won this election in Georgia based on all of this. And there's nothing wrong with saying that, Brad. You know, I mean, having a correct, the people of Georgia are angry. And these numbers are going to be repeated on Monday night, along with others that we're going to have by that time, which are much more substantial even. And the people of Georgia are angry. The people of the country are angry. And there's nothing wrong with saying that, you know, that you've recalculated.
Well, Mr. President, the challenge that you have is the data you have is wrong.
Now, do you think it's possible that they shredded ballots in Fulton County? Because that's what the rumor is. And also that Dominion took out machines. That Dominion is really moving fast to get rid of their machinery. Do you know anything about that? Because that's illegal.
This is Ryan, Germany. No, Dominion has not moved any machinery out of Fulton County. We're having.
Well, but have they moved? Have they moved the inner parts of the machines and replaced them with other parts?
No.
You sure, Ryan?
I'm sure.
You should want to have an accurate election. And you're a Republican.
We believe that we do have an accurate election.
No, you don't. No, you don't. You don't have, not even close. You're off by hundreds of thousands of votes. You know what they did, and you're not reporting it. That's a criminal offense, and you can't let that happen. That's a big risk to you and to Ryan, your lawyer. That's a big risk. But they are shredding ballots, in my opinion, based on what I've heard, and they are removing machinery, and they're moving it as fast as they can. Both of which are criminal fines, and you can't let it happen, and you are letting it happen. I'm notifying you that you're letting it happen. So, look, all I want to do is this. I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have, because we won the state. So tell me, Brad, what are we going to do? We won the election, and it's not fair to take it away from us like this. And it's going to be very costly in many ways. And I think you have to say that you're going to re-examine it, and you can re-examine it, but re-examine it with people that want to find answers, not people that don't want to find answers. For instance, I'm hearing Ryan, and he's probably, I'm sure, a great lawyer and everything, but he's making statements about those ballots that he doesn't know. But he's making them with such, he did make them with surety, but now I think he's less sure, because the answer is they all went to Biden. And that alone wins us the election by a lot. So.
Mr. President, you have people that submit information, and we have our people that submit information, and then it comes before the court, and the court then has to make a determination. We have to stand by our numbers. We believe our numbers are right.
Well, under law, you're not allowed to give faulty election results, okay? You're not allowed to do that, and that's what you've done. This is a faulty election result. And honestly, this should go very fast. You should meet tomorrow, because you have a big election coming up, and because of what you've done to the president, the people of Georgia know that this was a scam. And because of what you've done to the president, a lot of people aren't going out to vote. And a lot of Republicans are going to vote negative because they hate what you did to the president. Okay? They hate it. And they're going to vote. And if you would be respected, if this thing could be straightened out before the election. You have a big election coming up on Tuesday.
Trump urged a Georgia election official to find votes in phone call, insisting he won, report. President Trump insisted that he won the state of Georgia in the 2020 presidential race during a phone call with Georgia's Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger over the weekend, reportedly urging him to find enough votes to reverse the state's results. The Washington Post reported on the conversation, and obtained audio of the phone call, which they published in full online Sunday. During the call, the president reportedly says, "All I want to do is this. I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have. Because we won the state." Georgia's certified election results show that Trump's Democratic opponent Joe Biden won the state's November 3 election by 11,779 votes. The president confirmed Sunday morning that he had spoken with Raffensperger on Saturday about voter fraud in Georgia. He was unwilling, or unable, to answer questions such as the ballots under table scam, or ballot destruction, out-of-state voters, dead voters, and more. Trump tweeted. He has no clue. Raffensperger replied Sunday morning stating, respectfully, "President Trump, what you're saying is not true. The truth will come out." In an interview with Fox News on Sunday, Raffensperger confirmed that the phone call took place on Saturday, and added that he told the president that he would have to turn to other states to find enough voter irregularities to overturn the 2020 presidential race, because there was not enough in the state of Georgia to do so. Trump campaign senior advisor Jason Miller, on Sunday, tweeted that the full recording will show that Ossoff state is still a hack. At real Donald Trump is spot on in his criticisms of the terrible job Raffensperger did. All of the officials running Georgia's elections are trash, and at POTUS won the state. #MAGA. Meanwhile, Senator Dick Durbin, Deal, on Sunday slammed the president for a disgraceful effort to intimidate an elected official into misrepresenting the results of the 2020 election, and called for a criminal investigation into his conduct. President Trump's recorded conversation with Georgia's Secretary of State Raffensperger is more than a pathetic, rambling, delusional rant, Durbin said in a statement. His disgraceful effort to intimidate an elected official into deliberately changing and misrepresenting the legally confirmed vote totals in his state strikes at the heart of our democracy and merits nothing less than a criminal investigation. Durbin added, "The president is unhinged and dangerous. Those who encourage and support his conduct, including my Senate colleagues, are putting the orderly and peaceful transition of power in our nation at risk." Trump's call with Raffensperger came just days before the state's Tuesday, January 5, Senate runoffs, pitting Senator Kelly Loeffler, R. Georgia, against Democrat Raphael Warnock and Senator David Perdue, R. Georgia, against Democrat Jon Ossoff. President Trump has refused to concede to President-elect Joe Biden, and his campaign has launched a number of legal challenges. The president, himself, has urged states with Republican governors and legislatures to overturn Biden's victories. But while the Trump campaign has challenged the results in dozens of lawsuits, judges in multiple states have shut them down. Attorney General William Barr told the Associated Press last month that to date, "We have not seen fraud on a scale that could have affected a different outcome in the election." Meanwhile, on Wednesday, January 6, Congress is slated to vote to certify the Electoral College results. But over the weekend, a group of GOP senators led by Senator Ted Cruz, Texas, said they would object to the certification unless there was an emergency 10-day audit of the results by an electoral commission, and Senator Josh Hawley, Armo, last month said he would object to, at least, the results in Pennsylvania. Meanwhile, two House Republican officials told Fox News that more than 100 GOP House members will object to the election results in Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Nevada and Wisconsin. Trump urges Raffensperger to find 11,000 votes to give him Georgia. President Trump isn't giving up on Georgia, telling Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger to find the votes needed to overturn the state in his favor. Trump reiterated claims that election integrity was undermined in Georgia, prompting its 16 electoral votes to go to President-elect Joe Biden, according to audio released by The Washington Post. Trump accused Raffensperger, a fellow Republican, of knowing what was happening but not doing anything about it. You should want to have an accurate election. And you're a Republican, Trump allegedly said in a call to Raffensperger and Ryan Germany, the general counsel in the Secretary of State's office. You know what they did. And you're not reporting it? That's a criminal offense, and you can't let that happen. That's a big risk. The president also claimed that Georgia was off by hundreds of thousands of votes and said his goal was to find 11,780 votes he believes are owed to him for a victory in the state. So, look. All I want to do is this. I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have. Because we won the state, Trump later said. Trump urged Raffensperger to re-examine the election with people who want to find answers, adding that Germany wasn't acknowledging his claims that he believes voting equipment was compromised. We won the election, and it's not fair to take it away from us like this, Trump said, adding that Raffensperger should look into the results. Trump said he believes voters will show their ire about Biden's victory in the 2 Senate runoffs on Tuesday. You know, the people of Georgia know that this was a scam, Trump said. And because of what you've done to the president, a lot of people aren't going out to vote. And a lot of Republicans are going to vote negative because they hate what you've done to the president. Okay? They hate it. Raffensperger pushed back on Trump's claims, telling him he was citing incorrect data. Raffensperger and Germany said the election was carried out efficiently, and the results were accurate. Biden narrowly won Georgia by almost 13,000 votes, flipping the state blue after years of GOP dominance. Trump mentioned a phone call with Raffensperger on Sunday, during which time he discussed voter fraud with Raffensperger. I spoke to Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger yesterday about Fulton County and voter fraud in Georgia. He was unwilling or unable to answer questions such as the ballots under table scam, ballot destruction, out-of-state voters, dead voters, and more. He has no clue, Trump said. The runoff elections between Sens. David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler and their Democratic challengers Jon Ossoff and Raphael Warnock will determine which party controls the Senate, which is controlled by Republicans. Trump will campaign in Georgia on Monday. The president has also promised to protest on Wednesday in response to Congress certifying Biden as the winner of the 2020 election. The Washington Examiner reached out to the White House for comment. Senator Kelly Loeffler, we won't get a second chance if Democrats win Georgia's Senate races. Senator Kelly Loeffler warned Sunday that if Democrats take full control of the federal government by winning both Senate seats in Georgia's runoff elections, they will change the rules to prevent another party from ever taking power again. We won't get a second chance, the Georgia Republican said on Fox News Sunday. If we lose this election, we could lose the future of the country because we know, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer wants to abolish the filibuster, get rid of the Electoral College, have D.C. statehood, raise our taxes, and the list goes on. As a result of such structural changes, it would be impossible for Republicans to win the majority again, she said. Ms. Loeffler faces Democrat Raphael Warnock in Tuesday's election, while Republican Senator David Perdue is being challenged by Democrat Jon Ossoff. If Democrats win both races, they will take control of the Senate, while Republicans need just one Georgia seat to retain the Senate majority. She noted that Mr. Warnock has refused to say whether he would vote to pack the Supreme Court, calling him one of Mr. Schumer's agents of change. The early turnout has surpassed 3 million votes, a trend that favors the Democrats, But Ms. Loeffler predicted that GOP voters would show up in full force on Election Day. Georgians are fired up. They are ready to get out and vote on Tuesday because they know the future of the country is on the ballot here in Georgia, she said. It's a choice. It's a stark contrast between the freedoms, our way of life here in Georgia, or socialism, government control. President Trump is scheduled to hold a rally Monday for the Republicans in Dalton, although he created headaches for the Georgia senators by vetoing the National Defense Authorization Act, which both senators supported. The GOP-controlled Senate overrode the veto on Friday, but the Georgia Senate Republicans were both absent from the vote. Mr. Perdue has self-quarantined after coming into contact with a staffer who tested positive, while Ms. Loeffler said she was campaigning in Georgia. Trump presses Georgia's Secretary of State in phone call about alleged election fraud. President Trump pleaded with Georgia's Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger in a weekend phone call to find enough votes for the president to win the state, which Democrat Joseph R. Biden captured in the November 3rd election, according to an audio recording of the call. The people of Georgia are angry. The people in the country are angry, Mr. Trump told Mr. Raffensperger, a Republican. And there's nothing wrong with saying, that you've recalculated. In the hour-long phone call, the president cited a rumor that voting machines in Georgia were moved and ballots were shredded, based on my opinion. When Mr. Raffensperger rejected those claims, Mr. Trump called him a child and either dishonest or incompetent for not validating accusations of widespread election fraud. All I want to do is this. I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have, Mr. Trump said in the recording, which was obtained by the Washington Post and the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Because we won the state. There's no way I lost Georgia. There's no way. We won by hundreds of thousands of votes. Mr. Raffensperger responded by saying, well, Mr. President, the challenge that you have is, the data you have is wrong. The state has certified Mr. Biden's win by 11,779 votes out of nearly 5 million ballots cast. Democrats decried Mr. Trump's actions. House Judiciary Committee Chairman Gerald Nadler, New York Democrat, said the president may have subjected himself to additional criminal liability by threatening Georgia officials with vague criminal consequences if they didn't comply with his demands. Either he is unwell and really believes he won in Georgia despite all evidence to the contrary, or he knows better and thinks he can use his office to pressure state officials to change the outcome of the election, Mr. Nadler said. Either way, he remains profoundly unfit for office. The burden now falls to men and women of good conscience to contain the damage Donald Trump seems intent on causing on his way out the door. Representative Adam B. Schiff, California Democrat and chairman of the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, said the phone call was among the most despicable abuses of power of his long list, possibly criminal, morally repugnant, virulently anti-democratic and dangerous to our democracy. Bob Bauer, a senior advisor to Mr. Biden, said in a statement, "We now have irrefutable proof of a president pressuring and threatening an official of his own party to get him to rescind a state's lawful, certified vote count and fabricate another in its place. It captures the whole, disgraceful story about Donald Trump's assault on American democracy." As the president had his latest confrontation with Georgia's election officials, a growing number of Republicans in Congress were planning to object to certification of Mr. Biden's votes from the state and a half-dozen other battleground states that the Democrat won. Congress will vote Wednesday on whether to accept both candidates' electoral vote totals, a process that is normally routine but looms as a bitter partisan fight this year. Senator Ted Cruz of Texas is leading a group of Republican lawmakers calling for the appointment of an emergency bipartisan commission to review the election results in contested states within 10 days. The president also demanded during the Saturday call that Georgia election officials reverse the presidential results before two runoff elections Tuesday that will determine control of the Senate this year. Mr. Trump is scheduled to campaign for Republican Senator Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue in Georgia on Monday night, and he told Mr. Raffensperger that he intends to raise more evidence of election fraud at the rally. You have a big election coming up, and because of what you've done to the president, the people of Georgia know that this was a scam, Mr. Trump said. Because of what you've done to the president, a lot of people aren't going out to vote. And a lot of Republicans are going to vote negative, because they hate what you did to the president. Okay? They hate it. And they're going to vote. And you would be respected, really respected, if this can be straightened out before the election. The president told Mr. Raffensperger, you should want to have an accurate election. And you're a Republican. Mr. Raffensperger replied, we believe we do have an accurate election. No, you don't, the president said. Not even close. At another point during the call, the president warned Mr. Raffensperger and his office's general counsel, Ryan Germany, that they were risking criminal liability if they upheld what Mr. Trump termed an illegal election. You know what they did. And you're not reporting it, Mr. Trump told them. That's a criminal offense, and you can't let that happen. That's a big risk to you and to Ryan, your lawyer. The White House had no comment on the call. Mr. Trump said in a post on Twitter that Mr. Raffensperger was unwilling, or unable, to answer questions such as the ballots under table scam, or ballot destruction, out-of-state voters, dead voters, and more. He has no clue. The president said. Mr. Raffensperger replied on Twitter, respectfully, President Trump, what you're saying is not true. The truth will come out. Some other Republicans said Mr. Trump crossed a line in the phone call. Pretty much everything the president said on this call was wrong, factually and morally, tweeted former Bush White House Press Secretary Ari Fleischer, a Republican. And good for Georgia's Secretary of State Raffensperger. Election lawyer Clinton Mitchell, who was with the president on the call, said later in a statement that Mr. Raffensperger's office has made many statements over the past 2 months that are simply not correct, and everyone involved with the efforts on behalf of the president's election challenge has said the same thing. Show us your records on which you rely to make these statements that our numbers are wrong. Mr. Raffensperger's office said it had investigated and found 0 cases of unregistered voters casting ballots. His spokesman said the office was investigating a couple of suspected cases of votes being cast on behalf of dead people. The suitcases under a table at a ballot counting center in Fulton County have been identified by election officials as the standard boxes to transport ballots. State officials said no fraud was involved. Mr. Perdue and Mrs. Loeffler are facing runoff elections Tuesday against Democrats Jon Ossoff and Raphael Warnock. State officials, including Republican Governor Brian Kemp, have certified Mr. Biden's victory in Georgia. The president and his supporters argue that the Georgia contest on November 3 had widespread fraud and corruption. Mr. Raffensperger noted on Fox News on Saturday that the election results were verified by our accounts. We did an audit of the race. President Trump still lost, he said. Then we did a full recount? President Trump still lost. People have to realize that you have to get out and vote, and that's how you win elections. The president tweeted that Republicans in Georgia must be careful of the political corruption in Fulton County, which is rampant. He said Mr. Kemp and his puppet Lieutenant Governor Jeff Duncan have done less than nothing. They were a disgrace to the great people of Georgia. The president tweeted, "Why haven't they done signature verification in Fulton County, Georgia, the president asked. Why haven't they deducted all of the dead people who voted, illegals who voted, non-Georgia residents who voted, and tens of thousands of others who voted illegally, from the final vote tally? He said, just a small portion of these votes give us a big and conclusive win in Georgia. Have the illegally destroyed ballots in Fulton County? After many weeks, we don't yet even have a judge to hear this large-scale voter fraud case. The only judge seems to be Stacey Abrams' sister. Twitter flagged the president's tweets about the Georgia election with a warning that his claims of fraud are disputed. The president also spoke Saturday to about 300 state legislators from the battlegrounds of Arizona, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania and Georgia. The Zoom call was hosted by Gut Freedom, a nonprofit that is urging the legislators to review evidence of fraud and to consider decertifying the election results in the states Mr. Biden won. The plan by many Republican lawmakers to object to Mr. Biden's electoral votes is dividing the Republican Party. Another group of House Republicans, including Reps. Ken Buck of Colorado and Chip Roy of Texas, said Sunday that they won't go along with the plan. They said Congress lacks discretion to disqualify electors based on its own finding. They said it's unconstitutional to insert Congress into the center of the presidential election process and that rejecting states' electoral votes would amount to stealing power from the people in the states.